All right, hello, and welcome to our next rendition of Aether Drift Draft. Coming off a kind of rough one. You know, we went 3 and 3, even though our deck was pretty good. But I think it's okay. We're just gonna, we're gonna do well this one, and I will see you guys for the draft. All right, hello, and welcome to the draft. I've wanted to draft this card at some point during our journey here in Bronze to Mythic, and so I think this is going to be the time. At the Pro Tour, I probably would not have picked this card. Pack 1, pick 1, I'm not 100% sure. Spire Mech Cycle is a card that I think has really impressed me through a lot of games. I had somebody on one of the other videos ask me how I felt about 17 lands. I think 17 lands is a useful resource. Like, it's good to use it to be like, oh, this card is maybe a little better than I thought it was, or this card's maybe a little worse than I thought it was. But 17 lands doesn't account for a lot of things. You don't know what decks they were built into or whatever it is. And so I think that while I do like utilizing 17 lands data in, some ways, get information about formats, whatever, I don't treat it like the gospel. That's my answer on 17 lands. All right, so the colors that work the best with Monument to Endurance are red and blue. That's typically where you want to be. And this pack has a Thunderhead Gunner. One of the cards I've discussed being our third top common of the set, and one that works really well with Monument to Endurance. So I'm going to go ahead and take it. Oh, I should have talked more. Now I'm sitting here waiting to get all these packs, and I have to fill the time. So Monument to Endurance, this card's really cool. We definitely want to make sure our deck works without it, and that's probably the biggest challenge. Okay, going into this pack, there's a Mythic Rare, Radiant Lotus. Doesn't do very much in Limited. I think I'm just going to take another copy of Thunderhead Gunner. There's not really anything else in this pack that's exciting. And Thunderhead Gunner really is strong enough of a card that I'm super happy to take two pretty much right away and have them. And so I'm going to go ahead and take this Thunderhead Gunner. Other things we could consider, possibly playing like Teamer colors or something and taking the Hazard of the Dunes. But I think we've kind of committed ourselves into an archetype, and with two Thunderhead Gunners, I have a feeling we'll be able to make that work. All right, this pack's got a couple good cards. There is a Sky Crash, which destroys an artifact and cycles, a Keen Buccaneer, a Gilded Goda, and a Scrap Compactor. I think I'm going to take Keen Buccaneer. It just works the best with Monument, and if I'm drafting Monument, I'm doing it, for fun and to show off the card Monument, and I want to have our deck kind of do that as best as possible. And Keen Buccaneer is just a pretty good creature. It's got good stats on top of being able to draw and discard. Ooh, okay, so we've got a couple options here. There's another Keen Buccaneer, there's a Howler's Heavy, which does also discard, so it works with Monument. There's also a Pit Automaton, which can help pay for our exhaust abilities. It also pays for cycling, something maybe not everyone's thought about. And it's an 0-4, which will help us kind of with the early part of the game. And so I do think I'm going to take Pit Automaton here. I really like Pit Automaton. I think it's a great card. All right. Stall Out is the only card that discards or is in these colors. I think I'm going to take the Wicker Folk. Not that I anticipate playing it, but there are a lot of decks that end up wanting to play black with these colors. A lot of the time you can get that rare where, like, if you discard cards, you make 2/2s or something like that. And so leaving the opportunity to play black is never a bad idea. Okay, this pack is... Guys, is this the time? It works really well with cycling things, which also works with Monument to Endurance. I think it might be Push the Limit time. Monument to Endurance, Push the Limit? Come on, this has got to be a great draft, right? All right, here we are. Okay, so Push the Limit does change probably a little bit of our plans. Push the Limit decks, I think, typically want to touch white. Not that they need to. You can get away with just the red cards, but a lot of the white mounts and things are good with Push the Limit. That being said, I do think I still want to play my blue cards. I think I'm going to take Bounce Off. We want the game to go long enough to play our Push the Limit, and I think Bounce Off will do a pretty good job of that. All right, Glory Heathlinks is pretty great in decks with mounts and stuff, but I think I'm going to take the Ironclad. Ironclad is typically like the card you're looking for Push the Limit. You know, bringing back a bunch of Ironclads is pretty exciting. It is unfortunate there are a couple other good cards in this pack. Like Skyray is a great card. I think Ironclad is replaceable. I'm going to take the Skyray. I think it'll just be really good with the other cards we've taken. I'm going to go ahead and take this red-black land in case we end up wanting to play it. And then I'm going to take this Wreck Remover. It cycles. Wreck Remover, though, is not like a premium thing that cycles. It cycles for the Monument, but it doesn't really work with Push the Limit. Okay, going to the next pack, our mythical rare is Ketramos. Unfortunately, to my desire to try, Ketramos is not good enough in limited. It's too difficult to turn it on. This pack also has an Ironclad. I am going to take this Broadside Barrage. It's a removal spell, and it draws, and it discards. I think we kind of want to be like a red-blue discard deck that just has a Push the Limit in it, if that makes sense. There is an Ironclad. Given how late we saw the last Ironclad, I'm going to take Outpace Oblivion and just assume that, you know, we'll see more Ironclads. There was an Ironclad in the pack before, and we saw one really late last draft. Okay, this pack has nothing too exciting in terms of Push the Limit. There is a chance we just don't play the Push the Limit, which is okay. I think I'm going to take the Flood the Engine. It's just never bad to have good removal. I really do want to fit the Push the Limit into this deck, but if we don't find any of the... you need the Ironclads to be in packs where they're kind of free. Because if you're like highly picking them, your deck's going to be too filled with mediocre cards. Okay, I'm going to take this Gilded Goda. It makes treasures, and it is a mount, so it does come back with Push the Limit. With the Thunderhead Gunners and like all the discard stuff, though, theoretically these things should like work together. We don't even really need to get mounts that cycle because we have plenty of ways to discard them. All right. In this pack, I am deciding between Goblin, Gilded Goda, and Scrap Compactor. I think I'm going to take the Goblin. It's a 1-mana spell. It does also discard things. And we've taken a fair bit of removal so far. And so I'm going to take this Grease Wrench Goblin. All right, another Push the Limit. 2 Full Throttles. Push the Limit's really clunky. You don't want to have several copies in your hand is one of the concerns there. I can take the Blue-Red land, or I can take the Skybox Fairy, which cycles and comes back with Push the Limit. I don't know if we need 2 copies of Push the Limit. I don't think we do. Blue-Red land, Skybox Fairy. I think I'm going to take the Skybox Fairy. Gives us the most options towards playing this Push the Limit. Like, we could have taken the second Push the Limit, but we're already going through so much of our deck. Like, our entire deck is about discarding cards and, like, redrawing them. And so I feel like taking Skybox Fairy is a little bit better of an option of giving us, like, we'll have the Monument to Endurance win con, but we'll also have the Push the Limit win con if you draw Monument too late. This deck looks like a lot of fun. Hopefully it plays well. Okay. This pack has a Howler's Heavy. It has Stall Out. It has Kickoff Celebrations. I think I'm going to take Howler's Heavy. I like that this cycles, but also like can be a creature if you need it to be. And it also helps you survive a little bit longer because of the -3/-0. You know, we've talked about it a lot, but it's almost like a combat trick in this format, and I value it pretty highly. All right, this pack has Lightning Strike in these colors. You know, there's some decent cards in other colors, but I'm just going to go ahead and take the Lightning Strike. All right, our Ironclad did wheel, so this time we will take it. Our other Ironclad wheeled. All right, we are set up for success here, guys. It is time. We're here for Monument to Endurance, Push the Limit. I think the hardest part of this is going to be which card I put on the banner. I feel like I could draft Push the Limit again. So maybe I put Monument. But like, oh, it's so hard. I could ask Twitter tomorrow. I recorded this video a whole day in advance. So maybe or I can ask some friends, bounce off some ideas off them. Get it? It's good, isn't it? You should just say it's good. It makes me feel better about myself. It's getting pretty late. I'm still in Las Vegas, obviously, being in the hotel room. And I'm from the East Coast, if you didn't know. And so time zones, you know, it's pretty late at night, but it's way later on the East Coast. And I'm like, adjust Sabsunin! We have to fit the Sabsunin, right? I've never gotten to open this card. It wins by itself. Have we taken any green fixing? No. I think we can just draw our fixing. I'm not turning down a Sabsunin. We're taking it. No turning it down. Worst comes to worst, we'll discard it to an effect. We're playing one of the colors. All right. Okay, so this pack has, I think I'm going to take Fuel the Flames. This is not a card I'd consider drafting just about anywhere else, but 2 damage to each creature with cycling. I think this is more a test. If there's going to be somewhere it's good, it's probably going to be here. Okay, so there's no fixing, which is kind of what I wanted. Rise from the Wreck is pretty good, but I don't want to take any more green cards. Like I think I just want to like let the Sabsunin exist. I have ways to make treasures and stuff. Memory Guardian's not terrible, but I don't think I need it. I think I'm going to take Kickoff Celebrations. Another way to discard cards, get through a deck. It's pretty underwhelming, but I think it's fine. Okay, this pack has a blue-black land, which does not help us. Adrenaline Jockey. I don't think I'm playing any of the cards. I'm going to take another Skybox Fairy. I don't think I'm playing it. Ooh, Howl Squad Heavy. This I will take, and I will play. Makes Goblins. Just, you know, another good card to have in your deck. Okay, there's no fixing in this pack either. All I wanted was fixing. I don't think we're playing any of these cards. I'm just going to put this in here. Okay, this is 26 cards. I'm not playing this Wreck Remover, and I'm probably only playing one of the fairies. With this much cycling, I do think we can play 16 lands. Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately, Pothole Mole is not fixing when all you want it to fix for is Sabsunin. I think I'll take the Midnight Mangler. This is a good card to have in this deck, I think. I don't think I want to put this. It's a 3/3, so it'll block, but it's also a vehicle, so it'll come back with Push the Limit. Because we do want to make sure we have enough cards to make playing the Push the Limit worth it. We have Fairy, 2 Ironclads, Mangler, Gilded Goda also comes back. I think that's enough. We can choose to play another one if we want to. We're not playing these cards. I'm going to put this Ketron on my sideboard. Such a late Ketron. Keen Buccaneer fits well into this deck. I think we're happy to play it. And we don't need this Glitchko Surveyor. If we had more ways to increase our speed, I would consider playing the Glitchko Surveyor just to exile it from my graveyard when I discard it, but we don't have a lot of ways to do that. I don't think... I'm going to take the Pilot Land, but I don't think we're playing it. I think we'd rather untap lands. I don't think we're playing any of these cards either. Don't think we're playing this. Ooh, Magma. I didn't see that the first time. That card's good in our deck. It pings them every single time we discard cards. Okay, so the question is if we need a second Skybox Fairy to make Push the Limit worth it. Okay. So I want to play all removal. I want to keep the Howl Squad Heavy, and I want to keep the Artillerist. I like the Buccaneers. I don't want to cut any of these things. Our deck's much more consistent without Sabsunin. Are you guys going to be upset if I cut Sabsunin? I feel like we're not allowed to. Okay, guys, don't kill me. I really don't think we need it. I think our deck's good. Okay, so now that we've ignored that happened, we're just going to never talk about it ever again. We need one more card. Kickoff Celebrations is something I'm thinking about here. Pit Automaton, I think pays for enough of our like cycling abilities that I want to leave it. Oh, we're definitely fine playing 16 lands. so we don't have to cut any more cards. I'm considering whether I want to play the second copy of Skybox Fairy. I think I want to play the second copy of Skybox Fairy instead of the Fuel the Flames. Let's give this a go. At the very least, this draft should be fun. Okay, welcome to match number 1 with our very fun deck we've got here. Our opponent is on the play, but I like my hand. We've got, Lightning Strike and Pit Automaton. We can get the choice of 2-drop depending on what our opponent play is. And then we have Keen Buccaneer, another removal spell, and Broadside Barrage. And so I'm feeling pretty good about this one here. Ooh, Scrounging Skyray. That's even better, especially when we have all of these discard effects already. Bulwark Ox. Okay. I'm deciding whether I want to just kill it or if I want to like play something else. Kill it next turn. I think I don't want to deal with it. I think I just want to kill it now. And then the following turn, we can play Keen Buccaneer and then maybe play like Skyray discard or Skyray Pit Automaton. Something like that. We'll have plenty of options for kind of how we sequence, but I think playing Lightning Strike on turn 1 is my favorite for how we sequence. So I'm going to keep going on what we said we were going to do. Play this Keen Buccaneer. We'll see what they play, and that can kind of help us decide. Lightning Strike, how rude. That's okay. So now we're probably definitely playing Pit Automaton and Skyray, which is fine. When we discard with Broadside Barrage, it'll help us start putting counters on our Skyray. And we have Bounce Off to, if our opponent didn't play anything this turn, there's a good chance that they're going to play like one big thing, and then we'll be able to set them back a turn with Bounce Off. Road Rage, so rude. That's okay. Everything's fine. Sky Sovereign? Oh, okay. It's okay, Broadside Barrage kills this when it attacks. Oh, okay. We're fine. Sky Sovereign doesn't do very much here, believe it or not. It was very scary when they played it. Roadside. Okay, we have to Bounce Off because this gives a +1/+1 of lifelink, and then we can't kill it with Broadside Barrage. This is not so bad though. It does prevent them from getting the pilot. Thankfully, we had the Bounce Off, or it might have been really bad. Okay, back to our turn. Ironclad. I am planning on cycling that Ironclad. Oh, I should have kept the land in hand to discard to Broadside Barrage, but that's okay. Okay, we can't play the Broadside Barrage this turn anyway because they need a creature to crew the Sky Sovereign for us to deal the 5 damage to it. And Burnout Bastronaut is not going to be a sufficient way to crew it. I'm going to go ahead, cycle our Ironclad. Monument. Okay, Monument's a great draw. Skybox Fairy. We'll play our Monument. And then pass to our opponent. I don't feel the need. I guess we could. I say I don't feel the need to cycle this. Like we can just discard it to Broadside Barrage and draw the card. Collision Course. That's kind of rude. That's fine. We don't need the Monument, I don't think. Okay, so it looks like they are going to increase the power of their Bastronaut to crew their Sky Sovereign, which thankfully, now that Sky Sovereign is a creature, we are able to deal with it here. Draw, and then I'm going to discard the Mountain. We're already, we have plenty of lands, and whether we play the Skybox Fairy or cycle it, probably cycle it. We'd rather have that as an option than to need to play the land. Okay, let's go ahead and just cycle the Skybox Fairy. Okay, Gilded Goda. This just gives us a second blocker to be able to block the Bastronaut, which is pretty good, I think. They have 6 lands. I think we get a 4/1. So they can kill our Pit Automaton, but I think that's fine if that's what they want to do. All right, another Mountain. Go ahead and pass. We have plenty of ways to discard cards, and so we should hold our lands in our hand so that when we draw or discard, we can discard our land rather than a card we're happy to have. Voyager Glide card, that's a pretty good one. I'm just looking at what our graveyard looks like if we play Push the Limit. Gets back a 6/3 and a 4/4 flyer, which is not quite enough. The Gilded Goda, if the Gilded Goda dies. We're gonna need a little bit more, I think, to make casting Push the Limit useful. It is only our graveyard, right? Can you imagine if we pushed the limit their Sky Sovereign? That'd be so good. Like, oh, you dealt with Sky Sovereign, and even if you had just like had Sky Sovereign and pushed the limit in the same deck, I imagine you should just draft a better deck if you have Sky Sovereign. But all right, Keen Buccaneer, that's a good draw. I am going to go ahead and, actually, I'm not going to exhaust it now. I'm just going to pass. I can copy the exhausted ability, and then it becomes a 4/5, which is a little bit bigger of a creature, and I get a little bit more selection in what card I want, which is nice. All right. They're running low on cards, so I'm feeling pretty decent about our ability to just like kind of grind out Lifecraft Engine, okay? Is it naming Goblin? I didn't see. Goblin? Mount. Okay. Let's copy an exhaust ability. Activate it. It has crew 3. Okay, draw, discard a land. Glad we, okay. Well, I don't think we're playing Skybox Fairy, so I am going to go ahead and cycle it. Thunderhead Gunner, exactly what we needed here. Great card. This is going to help us pick what spells and stuff we want. And then they don't actually have a way to crew the Lifecraft Engine, and so I think we're going to be able to attack with our 4/5 for free. Howl Squad Heavy, that's pretty good. Let's attack with our 4/5. I didn't think about the fact that they can give this +2/+0 and then crew the Lifecraft, but as long as they don't have 2 blockers, then this attack was safe. Howl Squad Heavy is a good one. We'll get some gobos. The nice part about here too is we can saddle the Gilded Goda with the goblins, and because we can saddle them, we can keep them alive. They don't need to attack because they'll already be tapped. Cloudspire Coordinator, that's a pretty good card. Using it to scry, sure. 6 cards in yard. It's not a surveil, so it's not super relevant. We need to really watch. Okay, 1 top, 1 bottom. I always miss what they do when they scry on Arena. It's one of those times where you wish you had the like little Moto sidebar. Every other time I'd rather be playing Arena, but okay, put a land. Howler's Heavy. Okay, so I think let's play our Howl Squad Heavy. Go to combat. It'll make a 1/1, and then I would like to, ooh, I didn't save enough time to do that. That's okay. We'll make our attacks from last time. I needed to hold control to do what I was trying to do before. Assuming that's just blocking the 1/1. Okay, it's fine. And then I think I'm happy to just hold on to the Howl Squad Heavy. I guess I could just play it as a creature. Yeah, I do think they're just gonna like have to deal with our board at some point. So we'll just play a big creature. Even if we don't draw like any of our other win cons, they are kind of just dealing with what's currently on our board. I guess making pilots helps them. Oh, they can start making their glide card get counters and fly and stuff. That's kind of good for them. Yeah, let's look at how many lands we have in our deck still. after discarding this one. Push the limit. Okay. Now it's time for math. So we have 1, 2, I'm going to count lands first just so I'm following my train of thought. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lands in yard and 7 in play. So we have 4 lands remaining in our deck. That's good to know. If we cast Push the Limit, we get Ironclad, 2 Skybox Fairies. They can make 1 flyer. And if we just attack with everything, they're at 13. Okay, guys, hear me out. Math is for blockers. It can't possibly end that poorly. Get a 1/1, and then we'll go to attackers. Attack with everything. Oh, good. Pit Automaton as a defender, so we don't have to worry about not attacking with it. Attack with everything and make it their problem. I think we're going to be okay. They need 2 blockers for the menace creature. They have to tap everything to make the Voidcar flyer. Yeah, got him. All right, I'll see you guys for the next game. Okay, welcome here to match number 2 with our Monument to Endurance Push the Limit deck. Our hand is interesting. We're going on the play. We do have 2 Cyclers and 2 Mountains, and then we do have a blue card and 2 Thunderhead Gunners. I'm tempted to keep this. I think I'm going to keep it. It might be a bad idea. I think because we have so many Cyclers, we will just be okay. I'm going to wait until their end step to cycle. There's just, you know, is waiting really doing anything? No, but if it ever changes a decision our opponent makes, we want them to have as little information as possible going into their turn. It looks like we did draw the island, so same thing. You know, I'm not going to play a blue card. You have 2 options here. You can play your blue land to try to get them to like play around a counterspell, or you can play your red land and not let them know a color. It might have been a little better to get them to play around a counterspell, but it appears they didn't play anything anyway. Cycle another Ironclad. And I'm going to go ahead and play our Keen Buccaneer. Next turn, we're looking pretty good because we can both activate Keen Buccaneer's abilities and Gilded Goda. You know, while I'm playing limited, one of the biggest things I'm thinking about in the game is utilizing all of my mana every turn. And, you know, unfortunately, they did bounce our Keen Buccaneer back to our hand. Because they bounced the Keen Buccaneer back, on the same vein of like, I want to make sure I'm using all of my mana every turn, I'm going to play both this Scrounging Skyray and this Gilded Goda. You know, if we draw another land, playing Keen Buccaneer and activating it or Thunderhead Gunner like is a better 5 mana play. And so I'm going to do whatever utilizes my mana the best this turn. It's also nice because it puts 2 threats out. It makes it a little bit more difficult for them to deal with 2 cards rather than 1. All right, they passed back to us. I think I'm going to saddle my Gilded Goda and attempt to attack and make a treasure. All of our plays this turn are better at 5 mana than they are at 4. And making a treasure can kind of help, you know, smooth over into the turn where we hopefully find another land. All right, we'll attack with our Gilded Goda. So our opponent made a mistake. When we saddled or went to combat, they could have then used the spin out, but they waited for us to attack, which gave us the treasure. It was something they definitely did not need to do. And then I'm going to go ahead and discard this Skybox Fairy. You know, it's in our deck with the expectation to discard it, so there's no reason we should pay for its cycling cost when we can just use our Thunderhead Gunner. All right, looks like they're hovering our Thunderhead Gunner, maybe planning on killing it. Ride's End. Okay, so they're just going to 5 mana, remove it, which is fine. We did draw a land. I think I am just going to go ahead and play another Thunderhead Gunner. It's pretty mana efficient. At this point, I don't feel the need to keep the bounce off, so I am going to discard it. It makes our Scrounging Skyray a little bit bigger and can help us find, you know, either our Monument or something else relevant. Howl Squad Heavy's a pretty good one here. Hold Drifter. That's good for us to see. You know, it is a vehicle, so it can't block. And so they're looking at taking a lot of damage. There's 7, 8 with the Goblin that Howl Squad Heavy makes. And then if we discard, it goes to 9 damage, which looks pretty good to me. I'm going to go ahead and play our Howl Squad Heavy. And then theoretically, I should have discarded a card first. I'm going to discard our Midnight Mangler. I'd rather hold up the Lightning Strike anyway. And so I'm going to do that instead of discarding like a Keen Buccaneer. If I knew he had two, I maybe might have discarded the Keen Buccaneer, but Midnight Mangler also is pretty good to be in the yard if we draw Push the Limit. A board wipe. Well, that's particularly annoying. I don't think it's the end of the world. You know, now we're kind of just going till we find Push the Limit, which is okay, I think. All right, we'll play our Keen Buccaneer, and then I am going to go ahead and just play our second Keen Buccaneer as well. They did just use a board wipe, so now their job is going to be to kind of like stabilize to keep playing the game. Pactol Terror. Ooh, Broadside Barrage is a good draw. We'll go ahead and cast it on this Pactol Terror, killing it so we can get some attacks in. The nice part too is the removal spell that is white and black. It looks like they might have like the +1/+1 indestructible or something. But Ride's End, which is this card, these don't tap, and so it's not a very good removal spell versus them. I think I want to keep our Monument. It doesn't look like the Lightning Strike is doing too much. Go ahead and attack first. You know, no reason to give them the knowledge of the Monument. This will put them to 5. And then I am going to play the Monument this turn. It's, you know, more mana efficient to play it. And our opponent is not looking like they're in the best situation. They do have a lot of cards, so like, you know, maybe they can put something together to kind of take back this game. I don't think Daring Mechanic is what it's going to be, though. Hour of Victory. Okay, making a 2/2. Outpace Oblivion. Okay, so if I kill one of them, I think they're dead. If I kill one of them and then I attack, they can only block one, and then we can draw discard, and the Monument will kill them. Go ahead, draw discard. Doesn't matter what the card is, we'll have our opponent lose 3. And that will be the game. I will see you guys shortly for game number 3. Okay, here we are for game number 3. Our opponent is on the play. We have an island, a mountain, a sky ray, a kickoff celebrations, you know, something, a couple things to cycle, and the magma kin artillerist that deals damage when we cycle. This hand looks great to me. Especially, it's way less nerve-wracking having 2 lands when you have a bunch of cyclers and a bunch of things to draw cards. And we have a good 2-drop that kind of pays off that. And so I think I'm pretty happy with this hand. Wait for our opponent to make the decision, and we'll go ahead and keep it. Jungle Hollow. They gain 1. Right, we'll go ahead and play our island. And my plan is to play the Scrounging Sky Ray. It flies, which is nice, especially versus this Venom Sack-Lagac. And then I will probably play the Artillerist next. Just that way, you know, once we start discarding, we have all of kind of the payoffs of our discarding. It's also nice and mana efficient to do it that way. Nice thing about Scrounging Sky Ray is it does fly, so it's not threatened by dying to the Venom Sack-Lagac. I am going to go ahead and attack first. Aside from giving our opponent the least information possible, you know, if they had, I forget what the card is called, but the card that gives like +1/+2 in reach or something, then we would have the Broadside Barrage as kind of a safety net to keep our Scrounging Sky Ray in play. And so we're going to give our opponent as little information and give ourselves as much of an opportunity to react as we can. Gallant Strike. Well, you know, if they're going to kill something, that is an okay thing to kill for sure. Right, playing a Plains. And I'm not feeling too bad. They're hovering. Are they planning on killing it? Ripclaw Wrangler. Well, you know, it's not the end of the world for our opponent to make us discard cards. I'm just deciding what I want to discard. There's a chance we just want to cast this Clamorous Ironclad. I think I'm going to discard... I think I'm going to discard Kickoff Celebrations. I want to keep our land. I want to keep our removal spells. And then Ironclad gives us a decision on whether we want to discard it to cycling or just play it. And honestly, a 6/3 menace creature here doesn't look so bad. Sorry, I have a hair in my eye. Okay. Alternatively, we can cycle the Ironclad, which makes this a little bigger, and then hold up like Broadside Barrage. I think I like that, actually. It pushes a little bit more damage with the Skyray, and we're not really going to want to crew the Ironclad. Ooh, House Squad Heavy. That's an even better draw. Now we can play it and go ahead and attack for free with our Goblin here. House Squad Heavy is a reason, like, I've talked a lot about doing things as late as possible, but when we are planning on cycling and then possibly playing a card, you know, we want to make sure we have the information that we plan on using to make our decisions, which is why I cycled in the main phase prior to attacking. It also did give us an extra counter, which is nice. Right, our opponent's being rather aggressive, which is an interesting decision on their part. Okay. Our opponents have a 1/1. This taps once we hit max speed. I think I'm going to attack with everything, assuming they're going to crew their Broadcast Rambler, and then when they crew their Broadcast Rambler, I think I'm going to Broadside Barrage. Bouncing off the token is always something that's pretty useful, but I would rather keep the Flood the Engine for possibly a bigger threat, and so I'm going to keep the bounce off to discard to the Broadside Barrage just in case. Especially because if I bounce off the token now, they're just going to crew in response. Okay, attack with everything. And then important, they're going to crew, you know, phase of combat. We want to make sure that we're activating our Broadside Barrage before blocks. So, you know, one of the things I'm trying to do here is kind of make this channel a little bit more accessible to people that, you know, haven't played as competitively. And one of the things we can think about here is like there's the declare attacker's phase, and at the end of the declare attacker's phase, both players have to pass priority. So it does actually give us a chance to play our spell before they go to blocks, which is good for us. A very useful little trick that we've got there. All right, leaving Las Vegas soon, planning our last couple of shenanigans for the trip. Very unfortunate. I've had a great time. Eaten lots of good food. I got some sun today. You can't tell because I put my coupon. But my freckles are coming out. They're just hidden now. Ooze Patrol. Okay. And we probably will use Bounce Off / Flood the Engine as an opportunity to possibly kill them. You know, if they make attacks here, we can get rid of 2 of their creatures, and then it makes our situation going into the next turn pretty good. They didn't attack with anything, and so I think I'm just going to pass it off to us. The thing is, if we bounce off, it means they can't crew the Ripclaw Wrangler in response, but I don't think that's super relevant to us here. I think we can wait. Skybox Fairy. Okay. So if we flood the engine, the Ooze Patrol, they're going to crew in response. We could flood the engine, the Thopter token, then they only have 2 blockers, and they don't have a flying blocker, which is really nice, especially because we can make our Scrounging Skyray have 5 power. So while it looks kind of counterintuitive, I'm going to do this. It gets rid of their flyer, and it puts them down a blocker, because it's one of the only cards that can't crew the Ripclaw Wrangler. Then we can go ahead and go to combat, get a 1/1, and then I think I'm pretty happy to attack with everything. They don't have a flying blocker. Okay, so them crewing, I think we're 1 mana off of killing them. We bounce the Ooze Patrol in response, just to lower the amount of blockers they have, and then they can block the Howl Squad Heavy, and this will put them to 1. Which, you know, we wish we could cycle and make that last one appear, but I think this is definitely not a bad situation for us to be in, especially given that they don't have a flyer currently to block with. They would need to make enough creatures to block all our 1/1s and our flyer. All right, good game, opponent. And with that, I will see you guys for the next one. Hello, and welcome to match number 4. Our opponent is on the play We have 4 lands. We don't have a 2-drop, but we do have an Ironclad we can cycle, and so I'm going to go ahead and keep this. Unfortunate that we don't have a 2-drop, especially with how many we have in our deck, but I think that's okay. Go ahead and turn off our little fans. Look at our opponent's little guy. I love the little guy. And then, although I typically like saving our cycling abilities for after our cycler is out, because I don't have a 2-drop, I am planning on just cycling the Ironclad now. It gives us a chance to possibly find a 2-drop. It's also just mana efficient to use the 1 mana when you're not planning on using it on anything else. All right, we did draw a Lightning Strike. We wouldn't have drawn it if we didn't cycle, so maybe they'll play something that we can Lightning Strike in the end step. That would be nice. Nothing. All right. So here we have 2 options. We can play our Magmakin Artillerist, or we can play our Howl Squad Heavy. In blue-green, there's a chance they have a counterspell, but it's not played super often. There are also not really a lot of like flash creatures in the set. So I do think I'm going to play our Howl Squad Heavy. You know, we can start making the goblins, start working on our speed. All right, they're cycling Marauding Maka, so they are playing another color as well. But this starts getting our goblins out in a way where they can't be defended against. We can make a little army and then hopefully use it to tap for a bunch of mana. All right, our opponent did find their red source. I think I'm going to go ahead and attack. No reason to let them know we have a land before that. And I think my plan is going to be to play Bounce Off to kind of set them back on tempo for whatever they have. So I'm going to play this Magmakin Artillerist to start kind of developing our board a little bit more. And then passing, you know, they haven't played anything else up until this point. And so unless they needed the red to double spell, the likely answer here is they play one big thing. And Bounce Off will really mess with their tempo, especially when that one thing is Loot the Pathfinder. So they're going to go ahead and attack with it. We're going to return it to their hand, setting them back a pretty large amount. I'm going to leave this Broadside Barrage back to make sure we can kill the loot, seeing what it does. It looks like if they play a land, you know, they're going to be able to use one of its effects anyway, probably the Exhaust one. Maybe it was better to just take, this is where thinking fast doesn't do you super great. Next turn, they're going to be able to play a land. So because it has haste, once they play it, they will also be able to activate one of the exhaust abilities if they want to. And so if we had just taken 4 last turn, then we could have killed it on our turn. But it does take up their entire next turn as well. And then all of our things are instants, and we can spend all our mana. So I'm just going to attack with everything. We will have this Howl Squad Heavy that can tap for a lot of mana now that we are at max speed, but we have no way to utilize that mana, so we might as well get the extra points of damage in. Forest. Okay, so they can either hold up... Oh, Lightning Strike. Sure. They've decided getting rid of the Howl Squad Heavy is more important than replaying their loot. Okay, we have 4 damage. This will be 7. Go ahead and hold it in our hand for now. Get that 4 points of damage in. And now we're looking at lethal with Lightning Strike to the face, which is nice. Another forest. Not sure what their plan is, but I'm feeling pretty good here. All right, they're going to replay loot. No problem. And if they go to attack, I think then I will Broadside Barrage. The 2 options are going to be to draw 3 cards, which they're dead if that's what they do, or to exhaust and get 3 mana. And I would rather them get that 3 mana in the combat step. Okay, so they are going to do it now. What's the ward? Ward 2, pay 2 life. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, kill the Captain Howler. We can pay for the ward. And then discard the land. And then we have lethal in a number of ways. I think the one that's most exciting is attacking, playing the Thunderhead Gunner, and then discarding a card. So that's the one I'm going to do because I think it's the most fun. Discard our Howler's Heavy. It'll ping them for 1. All right, good game, opponent. I didn't get to give them a good game. I clicked wrong too many times. Okay, we'll see you guys for our next match. Okay, here we are for game number 5. Our opponent is on the play, and our hand is a little awkward. We're missing blue, but we have Gilded Goda, which can saddle to make treasures, and Kickoff Celebrations to discard cards and draw cards. And so I think with 2/2 drops in our hand and ways to try to kind of dig to our other color, especially given that it's a removal spell that we're not going to prioritize playing early, I'm happy to keep this hand. We did draw our blue source relatively early, which is nice. Ooh, Cloudspire Coordinator. Even though they get to scry, I'm going to wait to see what they do with their scry, but I think I'm going to cast Bounce Off. The red-white decks can be really aggressive, and getting to play their Cloudspire Coordinator and then play something next turn, I really just don't want to deal with it. So I'm going to go ahead and bounce it off. They left one card on top, so they will get to make decisions kind of a second time, but I think that's okay. And I'm going to go ahead and play our Gilded Goda so we can start working on possibly making treasures or, you know, something of said nature. And thankfully, unless they have exactly the 1-drop Squirtle, this really sets them back a full turn. And given that their decks are really aggressive, I'm happy to just set them back. There is a question where, like, if I'm really that nervous about Cloudspire Coordinator, I could flood the engine at this turn so that they don't get to make as many pilots. I think I'd rather make a treasure and play our Pit Automaton this turn, especially because Pit Automaton can pay for the exhaust ability for Greasewrench Goblin next turn. And so I'm going to go ahead and play our Goblin, saddle our Gilded Goda so we can attack and get a treasure. And then I will play our Pit Automaton, kind of holding on to our treasure for later. And then we'll see what they do. Hopefully nothing too scary, since we decided not to deal with the Cloudspire Coordinator. This card is really strong. Count on Luck. Well, Count on Luck is not the kind of scary thing I am worried about in my opponent's aggro deck. All right. I am thinking. I am planning on activating Greasewrench Goblin this turn. We can do it twice, which is kind of cool. We can like copy it and then exhaust. Oh no, yeah, we can with the treasure. I don't know if that's something I really want to do though. It makes it a 4/3, which still dies to the Cloudspire Coordinator. Trying to decide if I want to make a treasure. I think I'm just going to go to combat and start by attacking. I think there's definitely a chance I activate this Greasewrench Goblin. And if I do that, I want to discard our mountain. So I am going to go ahead and activate it. We get to discard up to 2 cards. And I think I'm going to discard both the mountain and then possibly Kickoff Celebrations. It's either Kickoff Celebrations or the Mangler. They're not being particularly aggressive, so I think I actually am going to discard the Mangler. Okay. We go to damage, and then now that we have a second removal spell, I'm going to go ahead and use our treasure just to cast our Outpace Oblivion. I don't really want to deal with this Cloudspire Coordinator making a bunch of things, and we have another removal spell to deal with, like if they play a bigger threat that we're worried about. We're also attacking for a fair bit of damage every turn now. Road Rage. Okay, so they're going to be able to kill one of our creatures this turn. Adrenaline Jockey. All right. Road Rage, sure. Okay, we drew a land. I'm leaning towards flooding the engine just so I can keep attacking, but I'm not in love with that, especially because we have a blocker. I think I'm going to cast Kickoff Celebrations. If that's our plan, then I think I should cycle the Ironclad first. We do want to make sure we have some number of lands. All right, I do think I'm going to keep the second blue source. Do I want to cast Flood the Engine? I think maybe I do. It's just not hurting anything. Okay, I'm going to cast Kickoff Celebrations. final option. Try to dig for some cards that'll maybe be a little bit more impactful for the game. No attacks. And we'll pass it back to our opponent. All right, Spire Mech Cycle. That's something I'm definitely more happy to flood the engine. Okay, they don't have another mount or vehicle, so it will stay a vehicle this turn. All right. Looks like they're planning on attacking with it, and that's fine. Broadside Barrage. Okay, well, that's pretty good. I think... We can only cast one of our spells. And I think I'm going to hold up to play the Broadside Barrage. I kind of want to keep trying to find our gas somewhere in our deck. And so I like that Broadside Barrage lets us draw and discard one of our lands. They drew Lightning Strike. Just all the removal off to the exile zone. Okay. Another Cloudspire Coordinator. It's a scary card. They get to scry 2 to the bottom. Crewing the Mech Cycle. Okay. Gonna go ahead and take our free block. Give them the option to act before we Broadside Barrage. And then we'll Broadside Barrage the Mech Cycle. Oh, I forgot about the Adrenaline Jockey. We're going to take quite a few points of damage doing this. This effect is so rarely relevant that I just forgot about it. And it might make a decent difference here. Oops. You know, even the best make mistakes. I can sacrifice the Outpace Oblivion, but I don't really think we both want to take 2. I'm a little worried about our life total. Prowl Catcher Specialist, okay. I'm not feeling great. You know, we definitely need to find more gas. Skybox Fairy, not the gas I was looking for. I'm going to go ahead and cycle this. You know, the only other card we have to play is Flood the Engine. And then I think I'm going to Flood the Engine the Jockey now. They can attack for 4 in a way we can't really block well, but another Count on Luck. Well, I think we're going to have a hard time winning the long game. Hopefully we can just draw Push the Limit and push enough damage through that way. Okay, I'm not going to block. You know, they're definitely going to pump it, and I don't want to lose my Gilded Goda to a 4/3. This is going to prevent the Coordinator from blocking next turn. Okay, Keen Buccaneer, that's pretty good for us here. It'll also get the opportunity to block, get us a land that's maybe a little bit better than this island here. All right, an Ironclad and a Mountain. They see so many cards every turn. Oh, another Mech Cycle. Not ideal for us. Lifecraft Engine. Ooh. Okay, they did choose Pilot. Okay, they're making pilots. Oh yeah, they're big pilots. I'm not feeling great. If we draw exactly Push the Limit next turn, I think we can win. But basically our only option. All right, it is a 7/6, so we do have to block it. Let's activate our Keen Buccaneer. Monument to Endurance. I don't think that's helping us here. And if we find Push the Limit, we do need a land to cast it. So I think I'll take our trade, take our chump block so we don't die, and then hope our top card is Push the Limit. It's an island. All right, we've lost our first match That's okay. We'll be back for the next one. Okay, here we are for game number 6. Our hand is a little slow. Our opponent's on the play, but we do have a Pit Automaton to play on turn 2, and we do have Monument, which is a pretty great piece of our deck, so I do think I'm going to go ahead and keep it with a plan to play our Pit Automaton and our Monument. And then we have Thunderhead Gunner, which is a pretty good, way to follow up to this Monument. We did draw Push the Limit, so we can plan some of our game around that. I do think I'm going to play the Gilded Goda instead of the Automaton. Automaton's really not helping pay for anything yet, and maybe we get to make a treasure or something next turn, depending on what we draw. Glitch Ghost Surveyor. Okay. I am going to go ahead and attack. I'm totally fine if they block. And then I'm going to play our Monument. Monument will start being useful next turn when we can cycle our Ironclad. And it does look like Push the Limit will be a reasonable win con here. See what they plan on doing. These blue-black decks can be pretty aggressive, so we do need to be careful about taking too much damage. 2 in the air, okay. All right, Skybox Fairy. So I do think I'm going to play the Pit Automaton this turn. My logic is we can use it to cycle in the future. I just don't know if I want to, when I cycle, have them take damage, or if I want to draw cards. I think maybe also I want to get some amount of treasures. Okay, I think I'm going to play the Pit Automaton and then just pass. I think my plan is to cycle, and I would rather do that on their turn, then I can make the decision. I just don't know if I need any more cards. Making a treasure means we can definitely cast our Thunderhead Gunner. So maybe that is a better game action. We do need to be nervous about how much damage we're taking in the air. It's a lot of flyers. Thunderhead Gunner is also a reach creature. Is definitely notable here. So I think because Pit Automaton can pay for the recycling on the fairy, I'm just using a little mana efficient and cycle the Ironclad. And I do think I'm going to make the treasure just in case. It does also mean that we can play our Thunderhead Gunner if we don't draw a land. Okay, Outpace Oblivion. It's a pretty good card. I do think I'm going to go ahead and just play our Thunderhead Gunner now. And then I don't really want to miss land drops. So I'm just deciding what I want to discard here. I think it's going to be Howler's Heavy. I want to keep the removal spell, and Pit Automaton can cycle the fairy. Do we want to draw a card, or do we want to make a treasure? I think I'd rather draw a card. Just try to actually hit our land drops. We did get a land drop. That's nice. And then we'll go ahead and pass it back to our opponent. Trying to see how soon they're dead if I just put Clamorous Ironclad and Skybox Fairy in my yard. All right, removal spell. Definitely something we could have guessed here. Skybox Fairy and Ironclad are 10 damage if they attack out with attackers. 12. So maybe actually I need to start dealing damage. Ooh. We are at a low life total. I think we're going to be casting Outpace Oblivion next turn. I do think I want to keep drawing. I just want to hit our land drops. I think that's super important. Okay, we did hit our land drop. I'm going to go ahead and Outpace Oblivion the Memory Guardian. It is the biggest of the creatures over there. We do also have this Scrounging Skyray that we can play now. which flies and can be made a little bit bigger by cycling the artillerist. Which I think I like that. Kind of a hidden blocker. And then we can start thinking about cycling the artillerist and maybe start dealing damage. I can get the 2 free points of damage here with the Gilded Goda. You know, it can't block anyway because it's on the ground, so we might as well. That puts him to 16. Skybox Fairy and Ironclad are 10. And so if we cycle this, deal 3, and then have 1 more way to discard, we do need 1 more land to cast the Push the Limit. But I think we also have a couple other creatures that can possibly get through. Try to make sure we don't die before we cast Push the Limit. They are already at max speed, so we can't deal any additional points of damage. All right, Grimbauble probably targeting this guy right here. You know, in response, we'll cycle our artillerist to keep it alive. Okay, so I think now we want to start dealing 3, I think. Okay, Broadside Barrage. And if they play a land, I do think I'm going to block possibly 3 points of damage. Oh, Haunted Hellride. Okay, depending on if they, I think I'm going to block one of them. Are they dead in response to this? We do need to draw a land. 10, okay, they're dead even if we, oh, this one's untapped. So they will have a blocker. Okay, so we should take this, because if we draw a land and we take this, then we can push the limit and it should be lethal. I think I did my math wrong, because they can block the 4/4 flyer and then they'd only take 10. We are at 5, which is an okay amount to be at. We have the Broadside Barrage to protect ourselves and get a treasure. So I think, let's see, we just need to make sure we don't die. We'll play Howl Squad Heavy, and then I'm gonna hold control. Go to combat. Howl Squad Heavy, we'll make a 1/1. And then before we pass to attackers, we're holding control. I thought we did have time to saddle this, but maybe that's only with vehicles. It's a little unfortunate. Okay, well, this has to attack. That is what it is. And then I think I'm just going to hold up both our flyer and Broadside Barrage so we definitely don't die. And we'll try to kill them next turn. We can get a treasure off of the Broadside Barrage, so we can definitely cast the Push Limit. All right, see what they do. Play a Swamp. Another Haunted Hellride, okay. So this does mean we need to block something. I guess if they give both their creatures vigilance, it's kind of annoying. Let's see if they do both. Okay, so we can block the Glitch Ghost Surveyor and trade with it. This has us taking 2. Puts us to 3, and then I think we have it. We can Broadside Barrage, get the treasure, and they will have no creatures to block. So I believe casting Push the Limit here will be lethal, especially with a second Skybox Fairy in the yard. We need to make a treasure token so we can cast our Push the Limit. And then even through a removal spell, I think this is lethal. 4, 8, 10, 12, yeah. The biggest thing they can get rid of is a 6/3. They only have one card. Our turn. Push the limit. Returning everything, which should hopefully be lethal damage. And we got there. I will see you guys for the next match. Here we are for game number 7 against Pomegranate Unicorn. We're on the play and our hand is great. We have Scrounging Skyray as a card to play on 2, Magmakin Artillerist, Thunderhead Gunner pays off both of those, and we've got plenty of ways to draw and discard in our deck, so I think we're pretty happy with 2 cards we can play on curve that work with our synergy here. I didn't see whether our opponent mulliganed or not. I think they did. Right, they did. Go ahead and play our island. You know, maybe we have bounce off on turn 1 or something. Mountain. Okay. I do think I want to play the Gilded Goda instead, just because we can get the treasure. Next turn, if they don't make a blocker for it, Magmakin Artillerist can saddle our Gilded Goda. All right, cycling a Sky Crash, sure. Looks like our opponent is also playing some blue-red cycling deck. Ooh, Monument to Endurance. That is a good one. I think I'm still going to play the Artillerist this turn. Go ahead and make our treasure. We can play our Monument a little later. Now, this is where if our opponent wants to do something, they should do it before we make our treasure. It looks like this opponent is thinking about that. All right, they're going to prevent the damage by cycling their Howler's Heavy, but it is still going to let us attack and get a treasure. So I'm definitely going to be okay with that. And then we can spend some time thinking about what we want to do from here. You know, we don't necessarily need to play our Scrounging Skyray. Maybe we just play Monument next turn, don't use our treasure unless we draw a land or something. If we draw a land, then we can play Monument and the Skyray. I guess we can also make another treasure. Fearless Swashbuckler. All right, this is a 3/3 with haste, vehicles of haste. Whenever you attack, if a pirate and a vehicle attacked, draw 3, then discard 2. Okay. We do have a land to play our Thunderhead Gunner next turn. I think I want to start getting ourselves set up. So I think I want to play Monument and Skyray. And then I think I'm going to leave the Magmakin Artillerist back to block, but I'm going to saddle with this Skyray so that I can attack and get another treasure. But this will keep us a little healthier. You know, we're really set up to do very powerful things this game, draw extra cards with Monument to Endurance, and so I don't really want to just like let them hit me for 1,000,000 damage. Our trading 1 damage for their 3, and you know, this survives and can ping things and such, I think is worth it. Swashbuckler. Fish Pirate. Got our tiny bones hanging out over there. Okay, I am going to go ahead and block. You know, if they want to cast a spell to have our Artillerist die, then, you know, they use the spell, getting rid of it. I think that's okay. Oh, they're going to Boom Mobile. I see. Not the ideal way for our Artillerist to die, but it could be worse. Boom Mobile is a 6/6, which is kind of annoying. Okay, so I can play our Thunderhead Gunner with our treasure instead of our land, and I think that's what I want to do. Just because I want to discard our lands. I don't want to be too flooded. So we'll go ahead, discard our land, and then we can decide whether we want to start being aggressive or if we want to draw extra cards. If we deal 3, it puts them at 15. They're taking 4, puts them to 11. I think we can afford to just be aggressive. especially because they're being aggressive and I kind of want to be aggressive in response. Go ahead and attack, put them down to 11 and pass it back over to them. We have a lightning strike now, which is an additional 3 to the face. So if we draw a discard next turn and they let us attack with both of our creatures, we do actually have lethal. Monument to Endurance puts them to 8. Lightning Strike puts them to 5. And we will have discarded a card, putting our Skyray to exactly lethal without the Thunderhead Gunner attacking. So we can do that through one blocker. We'll see what they do. Captain Howler, they just have all the rares. Whenever you discard one or more cards, target creature gets +2/+0 for each card discarded this way. All right, so they're going to draw cards, but I think, unfortunately for them, that is not going to be relevant for us. They're going to draw many cards, but you know, we can just take all the damage here. There's no reason for us to... okay, they do get a bunch of +2/+0s, so I might have to block something. But blocking something is fine. We will still be alive. Okay, we take 13, and I see no reason to not just take it. All right. Play their island, and I guess, you know, like, bounce off or something. I guess now that we have this still, I don't even think that is a problem. All right, we got our match, and we'll head over to the next game. We're in Plat 2 now, moving up in the ranks. Okay, we are 6-1 now, playing for the trophy. This hand looks great. Our opponent is on the play, so we have a chance to draw cards, but we also have a Cycler to possibly find another land, a Gilded Goda, which can make some treasures, and then, you know, we have Artillerist and Endurance as our pieces of, like our, what's it called, that work with our synergies here. I do think I'm going to discard the Clamorous Ironclad now, just because this deck does really want to hit its third land drop, especially with the way our hand is set up. All right, great. We did draw that third land drop. I think I just want to Lightning Strike this creature. I want to live a little longer, especially against a red-white deck, and I don't really want to let them gain speed. I will do it on their turn, just so that I, you know, if they decide they want to play something else, have the option to do that. But I am going to do it before we take damage. A lot of the time, I choose to wait until the end step to see if they play something that we care about more. But here, I just didn't really want to risk that. All right, here I can either play Artillerist or Monument to Endurance. I think I'm going to play the Monument to Endurance. Just that way, if I'm cycling for things like land drops, I can, you know, draw extra cards or make treasures or something. We did draw another land. I think I'm going to go ahead and play our Gilded Goda and just pass it back to our opponent with a plan to cycle the Skybox Fairy, which I like. We do only have one red source. And I think I want to get our Thunderhead Gunner into play, either by getting another land or Fang Druid Summoner. Let's see what they get for free. Playing green, didn't know that. Gibrick Omnivore, sure. So cycling, I think I am going to go ahead, just draw cards, try to hit our actual land drops instead of making treasures that go away. Land drop? Okay, cool. So we did hit our land drop. We'll go ahead and play the Thunderhead Gunner and activate it. I think I'm not necessarily in a place where I really want to play this bounce off. And then it's just a decision on if we want to start dealing damage to our opponent or if we want more cards. And I think for a bit I still want to get more cards. Just make sure we're still hitting land drops and things of said nature. Especially because we have the push limiter deck. Like, you know, if we find it, it ends up being so much damage. Fang Druid Summoner. This is a card I don't draft very often. It's not that I think it's bad. I feel like there's never a lot of situations where I draft it. All right, they are going to go ahead and kill our Thunderhead Gunner. Very rude of them. Okay, so now we have some decisions to make. You know, we can play like 2/3 drops, or we can just play our Thunderhead Gunner again. I think I want to kill their creature and start pushing for damage. So I'm going to play our Magmakin Artillerist because I plan on killing their creature with our broadside barrage. Flood the Engine's a little bit more flexible, and so I'd rather keep that. And I do think I'm just going to start kind of trying to aggro. You know, at this point we've got tons of cards. We have our Thunderhead Gunner, removal spell, and Flood the Engine, and we have the Magmakin Artillerist triggers. I'm going to go ahead and just start dealing 3 to them a turn. There are not very many decks that can just handle taking 3 damage every turn. Get our free treasure from our Gilded Goda. You know, 1/4 doesn't need to block anything here against the Spicy Wiener. Play another Forest. Loxodon Surveyor. I guess they're also playing the Gibrick Omnivore. Yep. Okay. So here we can play both Thunderhead Gunner and Automaton. I'm trying to decide if I even want the Automaton, and I'm not sure I do. So I think with our Thunderhead Gunner, I'm going to go ahead and just discard the Automaton. I'm going to keep dealing 3. I don't really think we need any more cards to win the game. Okay, and then if we play a land, we can either Flood the Engine or play our Keen Buccaneer, which sounds kind of nice. I don't think I want to Flood the Engine the 3/3. I don't think it pushes enough damage this turn. But playing Keen Buccaneer seems pretty good to me. Try to keep getting things on the board. And we'll pass it back to our opponents. We're not going to run the Gilded Goda into the 3/3. Now, next turn, killing our Thunderhead Gunner. Unfortunate. That's all right. Okay, so if we Flood the Engine, the Loxodon Surveyor, I think I like that. Now we're just getting to the point where we're dealing so much damage that I think it's worth it for us to play some cards. So I'm going to Flood the Engine, the Loxodon Surveyor, and then attack with everything, I think. Yeah. We'll probably activate the Keen Buccaneer. They're virtually 7 because of Monument to Endurance. And if this is the way they block, we actually have lethal. So we'll activate Keen Buccaneer. Monument to Endurance does say turns, but our cycle card doesn't need to be discarded on our turn. And so we'll set a stop for their upkeep, have them lose 3 life. They'll lose 4, take 4 here. And then in their upkeep, when it's their turn, we'll go ahead, cycle the Howler's Heavy, and deal the last couple points of damage for our trophy. Yippee! This deck was so much fun. This deck, like, aside from the fact that it was just good, you know, our synergies and stuff came together, we got to play both Monument to Endurance and Push the Limit. Really great deck. I'm super happy about it. If you would like to support the channel, you can do so by liking, commenting, and subscribing on this video. You know, those things help channels, algorithms, all stuff like that. There is a fun little treat coming on Monday. I'm not going to spoil anything, but something cool is happening on Monday, just trust me. And then also, if you wanted to more directly support me, you could do that through my Patreon. My Patreon has things like my deck guides, you know, my sideboard guides. It also is like the kind of blog where I post the things that I'm doing to get better in Magic, kind of identifying my weak spots, and talking about things like that. I personally think it's a great resource, but that is up to you. And with that, I will see you guys for the next video. I am recording a full set review for Tarkir with Ryan Condon over the weekend, and so you can expect that as well sometime next week. I have never done anything like that, so I am not sure how long it's going to take to edit, but I'm hoping to get it out as soon as I can. With that, I will see you guys next time.